My name is Dr. Hazel Carter, and I am 29 years old. For most of my adult life, I believed that being thrown out of your own home was the kind of thing that happened in movies, not real families. Not to girls who got good grades, stayed out of trouble, and spent their teenage years trying desperately to make their parents proud. But I was 18 when my parents told me to leave. And the strangest part wasn't that they didn't want me anymore. It was why. They said they were doing it to protect my younger sister. My sister Lily was 16 at the time. She was the golden child of our family, although no one ever used those words out loud. My parents simply called her sensitive, fragile, and different. Whenever Lily needed something, the entire family rearranged itself around her. And whenever I needed something, I was told I was strong enough to handle it. That was the sentence that shaped my childhood. Hazel is strong. Hazel will understand. Hazel doesn't need much. Hazel can wait.
The next morning, I arrived at the hospital before sunrise. I had barely slept. Not because of Lily's condition. I had spent years working in emergency medicine. I knew how to stay calm when someone was critically ill. I knew how to read medical charts, evaluate symptoms, and make decisions when everyone else in the room was panicking. What I didn't know how to handle was my family. My parents were sitting in the hospital cafeteria when I arrived. My mother stood immediately. "Hazel!" I stopped. My father remained seated. He looked uncomfortable. Good. For once, I wasn't the only person in the room who felt that way. "How is Lily?" my mother asked. "Stable." She nodded. "That's good." I walked toward the coffee station. My mother followed me. "Can we talk?" I poured myself coffee. "About what?" "About yesterday." I turned around. There were a lot of things we could talk about. She looked down. "I know." "Do you?" Her eyes filled with tears. "Yes." "Because when I was 18, I tried to talk to you." My voice...
For several seconds, I couldn't move. I stood in Lily's hospital room, staring at the two people who had raised me. My parents. At least, that was what I had always called them. Mom, Dad. Those words had existed in my mind for 29 years. Now, suddenly, they felt uncertain. I looked at my father. "Say it again." He swallowed. "You're not our biological daughter." I shook my head. "No." My mother started crying. "Hazel." "No." I raised my hand. "Don't." I looked at my father. "You said I'm not your biological daughter." "Yes." "Both of you?" He nodded. "Neither of you?" My mother closed her eyes. I felt something inside me collapse. Then whose daughter am I? My father looked toward the door. "Maybe we should talk somewhere else." I laughed. It was a bitter sound. "Somewhere else?" "Hazel, you just told me that the entire identity I've had for 29 years is a lie." The next morning, I arrived at Mr. Bennett's office 15 minutes early. I sat in my car across the street and stared at the building. It was a quiet office in downtown Chicago, located between an accounting firm and an old bookstore. Nothing about it looked mysterious. Nothing about it suggested that a single conversation inside could change everything I knew about my life. But I had learned something during the last 24 hours. The most dangerous secrets didn't always hide in dark rooms. Sometimes they were kept inside ordinary envelopes. Sometimes they sat inside bank accounts. Sometimes they were hidden behind the smiles of the people who raised you. I checked the time.
8:45 a.m. I picked up Daniel's letter from the passenger seat. I had carried it with me all night. I wasn't sure why. Maybe because it was the only thing I had that belonged to him. I folded it carefully and put it inside my purse. Then I walked into the building. The receptionist looked up. "Dr. Carter?" "Yes." "Mr. Bennett is expecting you." She stood. "Right this way." I followed her down a hallway. At the end was a wooden door. She knocked. "Come in." I entered. Mr. Bennett was in his late 60s. He had gray hair, glasses, and the exhausted expression of someone who had spent decades dealing with complicated families. He stood when he saw me. "Dr. Carter?"
I couldn't move. For several seconds, I simply stared at Margaret. Your mother. The words kept repeating in my head. My mother. Sarah. The woman who had raised me. The woman who had cried when I left. The woman who had told me she was protecting me. The woman who had watched me walk out of our house at 18. The woman who had spent 11 years pretending she had no choice. My mother had killed Daniel? I shook my head. No. Margaret didn't respond. That's impossible. Her eyes were filled with sadness. I wish it were. I stepped away from her. My mother didn't kill anyone. Then why was she there? She was there because Daniel called her. Yes. She was there because she was pregnant with me. Yes. She was there because William was threatening her. Yes. I shook my head. That doesn't make her a murderer. Margaret looked at me. I didn't say she was a murderer. I froze. You just said my mother killed Daniel. I said she caused his death. That's different. Not enough. I felt anger rising. Then explain. Margaret looked toward the basement door. Not here. Why? Because this house isn't safe. I stared at her. Who else knows I'm here? Your father. My stomach tightened. William? Yes. How? He's been watching this house. Why? Because he knows Daniel left something behind. The safe. Margaret nodded. Yes. What's inside? Proof. I stared at the frozen image on my laptop. My mother. Lily. And Daniel. 3 days ago. It didn't make sense. None of it made sense. I replayed the video. Again. And again. I watched Daniel sitting in front of the camera. I watched his eyes move towards someone behind him. Then I paused the frame. My mother stood in the reflection. And beside her was Lily. My sister. Alive. Not in a hospital bed. Not sick. Not recovering from surgery. Standing. I stared at the screen. Then I looked at Margaret. She can walk. Margaret didn't answer. She can walk. I know. I turned toward her. You knew? No. Then why did you say you didn't know? I didn't. Now, my uncle pointed the gun directly at me. Let's finish what your family started. For 1 second, nobody moved. Not me, not Lily, not Ethan, not my mother. Even Margaret seemed frozen in place. I could hear my own heartbeat. 1 beat, 2, 3. Then I looked at my brother. Ethan, 29 years old, alive, standing only a few feet away from me. He looked exactly like the photograph. Dark hair, brown eyes,
the same scar above his eyebrow. But there was something else, something I couldn't explain. He looked scared. Not of me, of the man holding the gun. My uncle, Daniel's younger brother. The man who had spent years pretending to be someone he wasn't. The man who had been hiding the truth. The man who had apparently been pulling strings behind my family for decades. I slowly raised my hands. Okay. My uncle smiled. Good. Put the gun down. He laughed. Do you think I'm stupid? No. Then you know how this ends. I looked at Ethan. No. My uncle frowned.